welcome back to episode 8. This week, we're going to talk about winter walking and some of the different aspects that go along with that and keeping our dogs well exercised during the colder months. So to start off, I know Anne-Marie really wants to talk about putting dogs in clothing. So we're going to just jump right in and start with that. So I think to organize it a little bit, why don't we start with who needs to wear clothing? Which dog?
I was going to say, are you going to start with small dogs or are you going to start with dogs in general? Well, I get asked this question, I think every single class, like people aren't sure. Like, is their dog cold? Is their dog not? Like how to identify, right? Yeah. Like what temperatures they can handle. I guess I wanted to comment a little bit on over the years of owning small and large dogs and different activities. Same with you a little bit. So, and then the other thing too, just to chime in before I actually talk about the clothing, is then a lot of times we will, during springtime, everybody's like, well, it was too cold for my dog to go out for a walk, or I didn't know what they should wear, that sort of thing. So I think it's, first of all, individual dogs, right? But the other thing is, let's talk about ages for a second. Just throw that in. So in different articles, different stuff that have been published, it's usually puppies. So I'd say under 18 months. And I would say seniors, 7 to 8 years old, aren't as good as regulating their body temperature. So I think it's important for those age groups to have some type of clothing.
Yeah. Right. And I asked you even this year about Stark, if Stark should start wearing something, even though he's a husky. He's, 11.
Yeah. But I don't think it hurts to keep the joints for seniors, the joints warm. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, just like us, is we don't want to overheat them, because then when we get hot, we take off our layers, we put too many layers on, but then sometimes you get cold again and get a chill.
Yeah.
Right. So we're trying to prevent that. So in talking about clothing, you got anywhere from wearing a light vest, something reflective, to wearing a hoodie. Maybe we should have had some props for this. That's what I was just thinking.
I thought about that because I've got Nuggy's little under pajamas and her rain jacket.
I think most people would know what we're talking about. But okay, so Amelia just mentioned layering.
Yes.
But to me, it's also where I've started, -5 sort of thing, just putting hoodies on the smaller dogs to even just get them used to wearing something again. So I'm not putting like the full out down jacket.
Yeah.
So again, the one thing you can watch for is how active are they being on a walk. So if they're like full out running the whole time, then you're not going to go with like the -25 vest. Just like us, we're not going to wear the ultimate winter coat if we're doing some type of activity outside. But if they're going for, like, say, a slower leash walk, then we might be looking at that. The other thing is, are they fussing with the jacket? Are they panting? If they're panting, then they're too hot.
Yeah.
But are they shivering?
Then they're picking up their little feet.
Yeah. So let's go towards the feet. So many different dog booties out in the world. And I would say even some larger dogs do have super sensitive feet. But what I find on the bottom of their feet is their pads are thicker and rougher.
The bigger dogs?
Dogs in general.
Okay.
Dogs in general. Their pads are thicker and rougher. So it is a bit of a insulation.
Yeah.
Right? Where they can take a little bit more cold. My sort of thing with Tulip, so Tulip's the Chihuahua, she does have delicate feet, but usually she's doing okay up until 0, -1 sort of thing. But B right here, he's hiding here, he actually didn't really need booties last year. But I find then he has a bit of the hair.
Yeah.
Like some people cut that off, but it's actually an insulation thing and covers their pads a little bit. What I would say as far as the booties, and again, if they're walking slow, chances are their feet will get colder than if they're running around.
Yeah.
Right. My suggestion as far as booties, try them on. Take the dog. Don't go by them without trying them on. I've had more success with the booties that don't have the rubber at the bottom, that they're just sort of fleece and they slip on.
Mhm.
You do have to put them relatively tight with the Velcro. I've had more success with those, especially with tulip and shorter walks. And I think a lot of clients have been doing better because I think even Muckluck, right, has sort of changed the way they made boots. They always meet them with the hard thing, but the problem is your dog's foot never lined up.
Yeah, I think you can get both styles now, but
you can, okay.
I think those are good for like if you're walking in the city with the salt and you need some
Right.
anti-slippery, you need a little bit more. Because I know when I lived in the city, we did a lot of walking on the sidewalks, and there would be like it was just a little bit more rough, and the fleece didn't really cut it there for Nuggie.
Okay.
She did have the muttlocks in the beginning, and also like I've used them for larger dogs as well in the past. But for the most part, I think I agree with you that the fleece booties are my go-to now for Nuggie, especially because we do a lot of bushwalking.
Yeah.
And they also, I find if you get the ones with the Velcro, you can put them on tight enough that they're not going to fall off.
Yeah.
So,
but I find, think about it this way, the heavier the boot, the more involved, the more gravity, because they're walking like this, the more likely they are to fall off.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And not stay on.
The other thing too is how tall they are. Is sometimes you can buy the taller boots so that they like stick up or they stay up higher on
especially if you're going to be in the bush and snow. I totally found that. Yeah, I totally found that as far as the short,
because then the snow would get in there and sort of pull them off. But so we talked about smaller dogs needing booties. What if you have, so for example, like my dogs, where I've asked you, do I need to start putting a coat, even though, you know, it's a husky, he's a little bit older. So what would you say to somebody who's not sure if they have, you know, their dog's getting a little bit older? How are they going to know when it's time to put a coat on them to help them out on their walk?
I think, again, it's just about watching the body language. And I think it's huge about what type of walk is it. If you're doing a slower walk on leash and it's -20, coat.
Yeah.
Coat, for sure. But if you're in the bush, which is usually warmer, the reason we're saying this is, you know, Amelia and I's houses now both have property, and we do try still the leash walks, but, you know, sometimes it's our go-to. The bush is warmer and he's running. Yeah. He's not, and he's running. So to me, he's warmer. So depending upon the day, about wind chill, is it warmer, colder?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. But even just having a light layer, you know, we're not talking about the down.
Yeah, just like a wind layer.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I'd ever put a down jacket on Stark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so while we're talking about different types of exercise, why don't we get into that topic a little bit? Because there's different things you can do even in the city, right? As far as like, let's say it's really cold out. What are some ways that you can still exercise your dog outside, even though it's getting a little bit more chilly?
So, backyard, right? Whether you have a fenced in backyard or not, take them out on a lawn line, play fetch, play chase. But remember, dogs are chasing humans, right?
Yeah.
But just getting that quicker movement is increasing the internal body temperature, where again, if it's -20, -25 with the wind chill, you know, doing a walk in the open isn't ideal at all, because you're not going to enjoy it. The dog's not going to enjoy it. So try to get that internal body temperature up, drive to a park, let them run around, because again, they're keeping up that body temperature. Dog parks possibly, but remember, you know, hiking trails, you know, something like that, where you're keeping, if they have a little bit of an opportunity to move a little bit more, then they are going to keep that body temperature up.
Yeah. And we have lots of fun options. Like locally here, we have, like there's certain skiing places that you can take your dog cross-country skiing or snowshoeing off leash.
Yeah.
We have some off-leash dog trails that your dog can go and sort of run either, off leash, or if you're not comfortable, they can drag a long line or something like that so that they can move a little bit more.
Yeah.
The other thing too is that I recommend to people with social dogs, dogs that like to play, is set up a play date with a friend.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
You don't have to go for a walk. You can, if your dog wants to run around and wrestle and, they like that sort of thing.
It's also very good for socialization.
Yeah.
So you're getting like a double whammy for sure.
Because we always do play dates in the summer where we go out for a walk with our friends and their dogs and they get together. But I mean, if you both have a dog that needs some exercise, why not get together and have a little play if that's what they like to do? So that's another fantastic option.
Yeah.
What about some indoor stuff? So let's say it's, way too cold to go out, or you don't want to go out because it's cold.
Yes,
that's me. I know last winter we did a lot of indoor sort of exercising because Dirk had a surgery and his leg was shaven.
Yes.
So we were inside more often than not, probably.
Yeah. So it's about looking at the indoor games again, and then it's about revisiting our training, right? We talk to people a lot of times, they'll say after an hour training class, they go home and the dog's exhausted. So when we provide mental stimulation along with exercise and moving, and everybody thinks sometimes exercise is just walking, but when they're doing spins, sits and downs, bows, we joke a little bit, crawls or like squats, I try to compare it to what people would do. Like if I go for an hour workout, I'm tired. I don't necessarily need to go for a walk. So moving through all those different body positions. And the thing is just not doing one or two. Yeah. Like if you do that for a good 5-10 minutes. One of my favorite games with Tulip is you toss the kibble down the hallway. She runs and gets it. Runs back, toss it down the hallway, runs and gets it. She thinks that's absolutely fantastic until she outsmarts you a bit and stands at the end of the hallway. Yeah.
It's a good way to get her to eat.
Yes, it is. Alfie's favorite game is we use the stairs. I have 12 stairs to the basement. I toss the kibble down. I do a search.
Yeah.
Toss the kibble down the stairs, do a search. He runs back up, toss the kibble down the stairs, does a search. It's beautiful.
So you have your dog and your child now doing stair running as exercise.
Yes, actually, yes.
Yes. Another thought I had was last winter when we did the canine fitness online class is when I'm doing a workout, right? I'm not doing cardio for an hour. I'm not running for an hour. That's not what I want to do. The strength training for our dogs is actually a fantastic thing to do in the winter because we probably aren't doing as much as we are in the summer, like even like agility and hiking and, going on all those adventures. If your dog is less active in the winter, doing strength training at home can help keep that up. And there's lots of resources to do things like that. But even just using exercises they know, right? Like we talk about this in classes, doing, sits to stands. But instead of doing it on the floor, put them on a cushion so that it's a little bit unstable. And they're working some different muscles that way.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some physical activity that you can still do indoors, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, you don't need fancy equipment.
No.
And COVID brought that out. And, a lot of us trainers had to find stuff around the house because you don't expect people to go out and spend hundreds of dollars. And just like you said, like couch cushion, honestly, I'm sure there's some type of exercise equipment that we've bought for ourselves over the years that the dog can interact with. Mm-hmm. Like I'm on the Bosu, Alfie's on the Bosu, standing on the Pilates ball, using the steps. We just talked about steps, 2 on, 2 off, that sort of thing. But, there's lots of stuff. Boot trays are my new favorite things for stands, sits and downs. And
my wobble board is it's a human one from the dollar store.
Yeah.
It's a balance board for humans, but it's a nuggy sized wobble board. So it works so well.
Yeah, it does for sure. So, just looking around the house and finding those things, making an obstacle course in the basement. Mm-hmm. I say to people, move some furniture. They can crawl under the coffee table. They can spin around the ottoman, going on and off, holding things, that sort of thing. I think it's great if you have young kids or kids in general, have them make a tent. The dog loves to participate in the tent, out of the tent, through the window, that sort of thing. So, and then it's like a whole family thing. For sure.
And the other thing that comes to mind with that sort of stuff is confidence building games. So I was just doing this in one of my classes this week, 101 things to do with a box.
Yes.
So 101 things to do with the box, you can really just Google it and find instructions for it. But basically, whatever the dog does with the box is the right answer. And so we're trying to think of, okay, maybe my end goal is I want the dog to put their feet in the box. But in the beginning, they're looking at the box and you're going, yes, and you're throwing a cookie into that box. And then, they touch the box and then you build on it and build on it. And it's confidence building and it's also a brain game and it's also a little bit physical. So it's just thinking, training doesn't always have to be leave it and go to mats and stationary things. You can get them moving while you're doing your training session, but in a more fun way, by giving them something to interact with, like you said, parkour, agility stuff, like a box.
So we also realized that ourselves as well as a training business. So, come January, we got a full lineup of classes. Come out once a week. Let us give you some new stuff to work on. Work on it. And it's then you're out social. Then we're not worried in April, May that now everybody's coming out of the house and our dogs haven't seen other dogs or people. Steph's going to do an online course like you talked about. If you're a home buddy, sure. But let's just keep that dog moving in the house, in the yard. So like you said, there's definitely, avenues there. Private sessions, we still got Zoom, right? So finding different places indoors to walk. So sort of say, remember that summer list that we have for no hot pets. There you go. So take them shopping. You have last minute Christmas shopping.
I saw a lot of dogs at the craft fair stuff.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly small dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a dog-friendly place, then why not, take the dog? I had some errands to do and I had Stark in the car. He's a bigger dog and we went in because a couple of places were dog-friendly. So I brought him with me and it was just a little outing for him. Is it going to be the most physical exercise? No. But he's at least getting some mental stimulation because it's new smells and it's new things to look at and, fires him out a little bit. So
that's awesome.
I think there's lots of good ideas for winter activities, not necessarily just walking, not necessarily just outdoors. But we've also we've covered what are you going to do if your dog is outdoors? Like you're gonna go through and you're gonna say, okay, do they need a sweater? Do they need booties? What kind of sweater do they need? What am I going to put on them for this particular activity? That might be different if it's a long line, snowshoe in the bush versus a short leash walk in the city. You're going to...
So just to interrupt one thing that we didn't mention, if your dog is not used to booties or a jacket, introduce it, take it slow. Don't put the 4 booties on and watch your dog struggle or fall over.
Yes.
Get them used to putting the booty. I put 1 on at a time and then I put 2 on, off, then 3 on. And then same with the jackets. Make it a group effort to train it. Don't just put it on.
What I do with Nuggie is when we do our first sort of few walks of the year with her booties on, she wears back ones because she tolerates those better. And then I also have my carrier. So when she gets cold, I do put her in the carrier for a few minutes. And then, she wants out and she goes back down. And then we sort of work up to wearing off our booties on a walk.
Same with, I find Tulip's front feet get colder faster. So we're opposite of you.
You don't put her in a carrier.
Tulip won't go in a carrier because she's just like, no, I'm a big dog. But unfortunately, the odd time has to be carried or left inside. But then that's when she's doing fit paws and hallway training.
Exactly.
Right? So
there's different options. The other thing that I always like to say is winter is a great time to try something new for us as well. So, for example, Nuggie hasn't done our scent games class, right? So I might take Nuggie and do scent work this winter because it's new for her and it's new for me. And I know in the winter, I don't like to go out as much. So it gets me out of the house once a week and it gets me doing something with my dog that is, fun for both of us. And it's going to be
fun and social for both of us.
Fun and social. And it's going to keep us both sort of with dogs and people so that, come spring, like you said, we're not seeing reactivity because we haven't seen dogs in 6 months because we've been in hiding and in the bush. Right? So I think there's lots of good options for us and for our dogs over the winter. lots of different indoor activities, lots of online options for classes. Anything else you want to add for winter tips?
I think the main ones, were the clothing and the exercise, just because, again, not to say always looking at the negative of it, but, sometimes there are different behavior issues that happen that I honestly feel get better if we sort of take these things into account. Like you said, push yourselves to be a little bit, if you're out doing a quick walk or something, try to invite some dogs along. If you're doing the off-leash dog, they're bugging a few of my clients, were bugging me a little bit because I'm not doing walk-in and recall in the winter. But I find it a little tricky because people are really concentrating on treating and being social, but the weather is a bit of a kicker. But I said that's no reason why a few of us that enjoy being outside in the cold or the dogs do well that can't get together.
Yeah.
So even what we're doing is, talking to clients and getting small little groups together or getting people in touch with other people. So, think about it that way. If you're interested in something, let us know. Chances are we have a few other people that might be interested in that as well. But again, even bringing them to visit, friends and family, it's just a drive, right? A drive, stop at the marina, walk around for 5 minutes, look at things, get back in the car, go get a coffee. They love when the Tim Hortons people pop out the window, that sort of thing. So, we do have a tendency to hibernate a little bit, but you would be surprised how once or twice a week makes a huge difference to leave the house.
Yeah. Okay. So on that note, I think we'll wrap it up for episode 8, and we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you.
That's it for this week's episode. Thank you for watching.
Positive reinforcement works for us too, so make sure you like and subscribe and rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast app. Tune in every other Tuesday for the next episode. See you next time. Not next week. 2 weeks.